Hello， 电影好选择立喆今天带大家来香港参加奇异博士的亚洲记者会。为什么独独选在香港呢？因为整个剧组是有亲自拉拔到香港来拍摄的哦。除了香港之外，还有尼泊尔。其实原本漫画设定的是西藏，不过因为西藏有敏感的政治问题，漫威不希望自己的电影被中国禁演呐，所以最后是改到尼泊尔拍摄。然后还有在英国伦敦的片场以及纽约这4个地点拍摄。现在赶快跟着我的脚步一起去参加记者会吧！耶！
Of the movie, Kevin Feige. Hello. And next we have director Scott Derrickson. Next, the beautiful Tilda Swinton, who portrays the ancient one. And last but not least, Doctor Strange himself, Benedict Cumberbatch. Thank you, good morning to you all. Let's have a seat. Welcome to Hong Kong. Okay, let's start with you, Kevin, by asking you why you choose to bring Doctor Strange from a comic book character to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, that's my job, is to bring these amazing comic characters to life. Doctor Strange was created in the early 60s by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, the exact same time they were making Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk and the Avengers. They created Doctor Strange, and for many, many years we've wanted to bring it to life.
Amazing concept, and I am looking forward to watch the full movie.
Excellent.
And Scott, for you as a director, what about this project was particularly interesting to you?
Well, as Kevin just said, the comic came along in the 60s after a lot of the main Marvel characters had been established, and Doctor Strange presented a whole new multiverse into the Marvel comic universe, a lot of other dimensions, and the supernatural, the presence of the supernatural, which I'm very fond of, and most of my previous work reflects that. So I liked the idea of being able to tell a Marvel origin story with a character as interesting as Doctor Strange, with a journey as interesting as his journey is, but to do that also with more fantastical and magical elements than what we've seen in previous Marvel films.
Okay. One more question for Kevin and Scott. What were your guiding principles when it came to casting this movie? And why did you offer the role to Benedict and Tilda?
Well, the guiding principle is always find the best actor you can find to portray the role. And the truth is, for many years, Benedict was our #1 choice, without question. And in fact, we moved the schedule of the movie around, and the release of the movie around specifically for Benedict, which we'd never done before, but he's clearly perfectly Doctor Strange.
He is Doctor Strange.
Yes, yes.
And for Tilda?
Well, we were very fortunate because everybody that we cast in the major roles, they were all our first choices. And with Tilda, it was primarily a need to find somebody who could embody the intrigue of the Ancient One. It's a very complex character, enigmatic, ethereal, androgynous. I mean, all these things that we had done with the script. We wanted an actress who could come in and bring the complexity of that character, and I specifically wrote the role for Tilda. In fact, I even told Kevin Feige if she didn't, before we ever approached her, I told Kevin that if she turned the role down, I'd have to rewrite the script.
Really?
Because it was so tailored to her. I couldn't write the character well until I imagined Tilda doing it.
Okay, Benedict. Good morning, Benedict.
Good morning. Good morning, Marco.
I just have to tell you I'm your biggest fan.
Very much.
Benedict will play Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange, a celebrated but arrogant surgeon who, after an accident which ruins your career, encounters the Ancient One, portrayed by you, Tilda. And the Ancient One is a wise and enigmatic figure who has safeguarded the secrets of the mystic arts for a very long time. So both of you are Oscar-nominated actors. Can you tell us something about your approach to the roles in Doctor Strange?
Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
You should go first.
Okay, I'll go first. was done in person on the most fantastic sets where you literally shoot 360 degrees because of the detail on them. We're done with stuntmen, but also with us on wires and doing fight sequences and running, a lot of running. And you know, that side of things, the physical side of things, was a new step up for me. But you know, I think, like a lot of actors, when you're in a very big film, you can't think about that. You can't think about what the preconceptions are going to be. You just try to problem solve moment by moment, day by day. And that's working on the script, which was absolutely fantastic. And you know, Scott and Kevin are great collaborators. There's a very collegiate feel to that. So you can approach the material as you would any other material. And you find out what your character's intentions are, where you are in the story of what scene you're shooting. And you go about, you know, fulfilling the tasks of the day, basically. So yeah, no different from any other role, apart from maybe a bit more running around and physicality, I'd say.
And for Tilda, are you running around?
A fair bit of running around, a fair bit of fighting with two fans, which was really enjoyable. I mean, I would say, like Benedict, it was the same approach to any film, but it was a Marvel film, you know? And there was something about stepping in front of the camera every time that felt, you know, there was a question in my head, what kind of film are we making? We're making a Marvel movie. You're stepping into a Marvel frame and you're being directed by Scott Derrickson. That was completely unique and thrilling every time.
And what do you think audience worldwide will expect from your respective performances?
Wow, that's a future-gazing question. If I was Doctor Strange for real, I probably could do that. But what would they expect? I hope they've got high expectations, and I hope we exceed them, I would say. I mean, this is a very exciting character, and he goes on a fantastic journey in this film. It's a brilliant origin story. It's full of humour, and it's full of a truth to the original source material of the comics. And you've got the most fantastic cast, headed by a wonderful director and a studio that really knows what it's doing. Thanks very much to this man here. I think you're in for a truly spectacular, very heartfelt, at times funny, but really thrilling journey.
I suppose, you know, the wonderful thing about Marvel is that Marvel has set up in us a sort of special experience in our lives, which is a transport. You know, it doesn't matter how old we are, we go into the cinema to see a Marvel film and we are going on a magical mystery ride. We're on a magic carpet, and I would say what we're going to get this time is something a little different and a little special, because we're dealing with magical powers, but we're also dealing with human beings. And that's really, I can tell you because I've seen the film, it really does deliver something special. So people can expect that. They can expect the same but more.
We are looking forward. And what is the fun part about playing the role? And what is the hardest?
For me, the fun is the hardness. I mean, it's the most extraordinary character journey he goes on. This man is part of a very material, logic-driven, binary world, something that we sensually experience every day of our lives, but he's obviously very much at the head of his profession, which is not necessarily something we experience every day of our lives, which is a neurosurgeon, a very smart, intelligent, but as you said in your introduction, arrogant man. And he has his entire world turned upside down in a car crash, both physically and mentally. It's the destruction of him to create something anew. He had healing in his hands, but he used it for his own gain, for his own prowess, for his own ego. And what he discovers through meeting the Ancient One and trying to heal his hands is that the great power he has is something within that goes beyond our world. And to do that, to play that part, you know, there were countless different stages to it. There's the confident man at the beginning, there's the broken man after the accident, and then there's this slow rebuild into a Marvel superhero. And while that was hard, it was the most enjoyable ride I've been on. I mean, it's fantastic. Like Tilda says, hopefully that will be the experience of the audience. This is, you know, a thrilling universe to be part of, and it's great fun to bring a character like this to life.
And for Tilda, was the makeup hard every morning?
What makeup? Makeup today. I'm just wearing a wig today. The greatest fun for me was the fighting. That was a great thrill. Possibly the most difficult thing was casting spells while remembering lines. yeah, that was a tricky thing. But truly, it was a blast. It was just like a party every day for us.
Have you two worked together before?
No.
This is the first time?
Yeah.
Oh. So do you have any interesting anecdotes from the set of Doctor Strange that you can share with us?
That we can share with you?
Yeah.
Over to you, Doctor.
Gosh.
It was,
Yeah.
you know, it was such fun. We just had a laugh, really. What are the anecdotes? I played a word game pretty obsessively with Chiwetel, which became slightly problematic in certain scenes because we became very, very interested in it in between takes. Your baby was a great distraction.
Yes, my
on the
baby
set.
was a great distraction. He was a soothing influence of the day.
When the baby showed up, the set just stopped.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All these people running off for 4 hours sleep and a lot of caffeine, just like you went, he has that effect. I spent a long time in a mechanical arm that was quite fun. I'm not sure if that's an anecdote, but it was an odd way to go to work. I was literally thrown around in an arm as part of one of these extraordinary kind of journeys he goes on at the hand of the Ancient One. Tilda was probably playing Words with Friends whilst I was then getting flung around after one of her spells, which she does do amazingly, despite her saying it was difficult. It's astonishing to watch.
I'll say one thing. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that if an actor does a lot of his own stunts, which Benedict did in this movie, it's very physically demanding. So when I think about the production, a lot of what comes to mind is Benedict being in physical pain and having to perform in situations where he's sparring or fighting and getting hit and kicked, because that's what happens when you do your own fight scenes, which he did most of, being in harnesses, doing very difficult things. It's very physically demanding. And I was fortunate because I've worked, I've done some of that before, nothing at the level of this movie, but it's unpleasant, and he was a total trooper, and got just better and better as we went along. But he's definitely an action star.
I'm sure he is. I was wondering if the both of you, Tilda and Benedict, were given some superpower. What kind of superpower would you like to possess?
I'd love to be able to fly. I just think that would be magic. Yeah, there's nothing much better than that, and I got to do a bit of that in this film, which was wonderful.
You want to do it without the wires?
Oh, without the wires, yeah. Without the massive cloak, maybe. Yeah, exactly. That would be my superpower, if you ask me that.
I think a superpower to withstand jet lag.
Are you having one now?
No, I'm channeling my superpower right now.
I feel like I'm flying. Maybe that's a combination, jet lag and flying.
You're in a Marvel universe, man. That's what happened.
So, if you have to choose a favorite movie from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, excluding Doctor Strange, of course, what would that be and why?
Captain America Civil War, because it was the last one.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I love Guardians. I love Guardians.
Guardians of the Galaxy and Winter Soldier. Those are my two favorite Marvel movies.
And for Kevin, everything.
All of them, yes. The next one.
You're supposed to say Doctor Strange.
No, the next Doctor Strange. That's what he's thinking.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts and insights. I'm sure I speak for all of us. We're very happy that you're in Hong Kong. We know that you have a very tight schedule. But if you do have some free time, what would you like to do or see in Hong Kong? Start with you, Kevin.
Well, in about 2 hours, we're going to go get some dim sum, which I'm extremely excited for.
Yeah, me too. All sorts of things. Victoria Heights is it called? Is that it? We can do a trek there. And I came here when I was 13, and I went on a junk boat, and we sailed to a harbour, to this harbour, Victoria, and had a swim. So maybe if I have time, I'll do that.
A swim?
Yeah.
Oh.
In the cleaning process.
Good. For Tilda.
I have friends here who I'm really looking forward to seeing. My friend Maggie Chung, and also my friends who run Film-Aid, which is a charity that takes cinema into refugee camps, who I was thus the only other time I've been to Hong Kong, I was here with them, so I'm looking forward to seeing them. And just getting out into what the Germans call the nature. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay. And for Scott.
If I get any extra time, I will probably walk along the waterfront. I think it's probably the most beautiful, city skyline in the world, Hong Kong.
And you'll see it tonight too.
And I will see it tonight.
Okay, now it's the time for the members of the press and media to ask their questions. And if you have a question, please raise your hand and a member of our staff will bring you a microphone. And before you ask your question, please tell us your name and the organization you represent. Yes, the second row, the gentleman with glasses. Yes.
Hi, good morning to everyone. I'm John E. from the Philippine Star. Sorry for the bun-ish question, but I just want to ask, what's the strangest thing about each one of you?
What's the strangest thing about each one of us?
That's a good question.
I
Do you
don't
answer to each other or for each
That's a
other?
good question. The strangest thing about Scott is, I don't know. I mean, I've been told that I have a very narrow focus and skill, which happens to be making these kind of movies, and it's very much sort of my entire focus. And sometimes people say that maybe I should focus on some other things, but we're doing
blockbusters.
It's fun. No, that's what I like to do.
Okay. Anyone? The gentleman at the back.
We got out that one.
From BC Magazine in Hong Kong. I just want to ask, how do you see the difference between magic and superpowers? What makes something magic and what makes something a superpower?
Well, I'm going to take that one. I think that, in not just in the MCU, but in superhero comics and superhero movies as well, there's always a need, a necessity to explain where those superpowers come from. And in the history of comics, certainly in the MCU, that explanation always has a kind of grounded basis. You understand where Tony Stark gets his ability, which is through technology. You understand where Captain America gets his power, which is also through a kind of technology, but it's biological technology that changes his body structure. You can go through any superhero in any film or comic, and you can probably come up with some kind of scientific or realistic-based explanation. Even Thor is from Asgard, and in the MCU, that's given a pretty good scientific grounding. That Asgard is a place within our universe. When you're talking about magic, you're talking about mystery, and you're talking about something that defies explanation. Magic, by definition, is mysterious. It taps into things that we don't fully understand. That's what makes magic magic. And that's what makes it spellbinding and powerful and mysterious. And the very nature of the supernatural is that it defies easy explanation. It goes beyond the limits of what we really understand. And that's why I'm always drawn to it, because I think stories about the fantastical and the supernatural tap into our own sense of awe at all the mysterious things in the world that we don't understand. Those are the stories I like to watch, I like to read, and they're the stories I like to tell.
Good. That gentleman over there, he's been raising his hand from the beginning.
Thank you. My name is Juno. I'm coming from Global TV, Jakarta, Indonesia. So my question is about, this movie is adapted from a very well-known comic series. And of course, the movie will get more attention from die-hard fans of Doctor Strange and of course the Marvel fans out there. So how do you guys handle this kind of expectations? Do you guys have any burden, about this? Thank you so much. Terima kasih.
To a degree, of course. These comics and the films that Marvel make are driven by the people who read them and who are fans of the comics. So it's very important to us that the fans are thrilled that their expectations are met, but most importantly that they're exceeded. And I think, thankfully we have studio boss who is also a massive fanboy. There's nothing this man does not know about the original comics. So together with the rest of his team, it's done out of love. And there's a huge amount of respect in that love, and respect in detail. And that means, as an actor, stepping into something that until I encountered this role I wasn't very familiar with. It means a lot of the heavy lifting is already done, and so a lot of the responsibility is lightened, and so I can concentrate on my job of trying to fulfill their expectations, because I know ultimately I'm fulfilling their fans' expectations. So yes, I'd say it's hugely important, and I really, I hope we've done right back.
I think that's right. I think the most important thing for fans to know is that these movies are made by superfans. And so I wouldn't suggest that it's a burden. It's a representation. And of course, these are movies. These are not comic strips. These are not graphic novels. And the wonderful thing about these stories is that they've been interpreted and reinterpreted many times graphically. This is another reinterpretation of the classic text, if you like, but in movie form, but by superfans. So it's, I would suggest that fans should know that they're in very safe hands.
We have time for 3 more questions, and that lady.
Australia. It's such a grand scale of film to accomplish, like, from the comic to the screen. What was the biggest obstacle in kind of translating that?
Biggest obstacle in translating it, well, Scott, you should talk more to this, but it really was doing justice to the amazing visuals. The visuals of the artist Steve Ditko, who did the early Doctor Strange books, were so influential for us, and figuring out how to bring that and it still just how to translate and reinterpret that to the big screen, I think was the biggest challenge. Scott, would you?
Yeah, my love for Doctor Strange was really always rooted in 2 things. One was the nature of the origin story. I loved, since I was a kid, loved the story of this guy who transforms through tragedy and through suffering. I've always been drawn to that story. It's why it's my favorite origin story. And the second reason is the psychedelic imagery, that late 60s crazy visual splendor of those early Ditko comics. And the starting point for us was not just to be loyal to those, but to be loyal to the attitude of those comics, which was to create visual images that were not just about mass destruction. They were about mind-bending alternate realities. And we really stuck to that with this movie, I think. It was every set piece in the movie was an attempt to do something new, to do something that audiences haven't seen, for the movie to be truly mind-expanding in the way that the comic was mind-expanding. And that was a challenge. And I remember in the development process doing research with our production designer Charlie Wood and doing early concept art. I remember kind of a breakthrough period when we decided, let's go all the way. Let's just go crazy. Let's go with whatever crazy things we can imagine. And once we started to go well beyond what other movies had done in the past, then we started to get into territory that was very exciting, and that's where the set pieces came from.
Thank you. And second last question, let's go for that lady over there. Okay, last question for that gentleman over there.
From Manila, Philippines. Question, I'm not sure what will happen to the Ancient One at the end of Doctor Strange, but I can imagine Benedict playing Doctor Strange in sequels and crossovers and probably wearing the costumes in comic conventions. What are your thoughts about being best remembered for this role for the rest of your career with Benedict?
For now, I'd be very happy about that. I don't know, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. Get back to me at the end of my career and I'll tell you.
Okay, thank you everyone. And now we need a little time to clear the stage as we have a special gift for you. So why don't you go off stage and rest for a while and come back later. Thank you.